Hello everyone, this is Josh with BACA Systems. Today I will be showing you how to calibrate C and A axes on the BACA Boss saw. This is a very important calibration for anyone that has our saw. It should be done at least once a week just to check it, or after any crash or hard stop or anything like that. If this isn't done, your cuts are going to not be straight. You'll hear them zing as they come out. There's a variety of reasons, but this needs to be done and checked periodically just to make sure that everything is cutting as it should. 'Cause it's much easier to do preventative maintenance and calibrations as opposed to cutting a whole job and then finding out that your cuts are off. Okay, so we're going to start by going in a maintenance position on the saw, and then once we're here, the machine comes to right here. This maintenance position is actually set specifically for this calibration. It's set in such a way that when you mount your dial indicator, you can go ahead and place the needle center of the flange. You're already good to go. But before we get that far, I've taken a blade off. And the reason I've done that is because I want to show you how important it is that all of our mating surfaces are clean. If they're not clean, they're not free of any debris or nicks in the metal or high spots or anything like that, it's going to throw off all your calibrations, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do to correct it. So what I'll do every once in a while, Monday morning maintenance, is I'll take a piece of Scotch-Brite, get a little bit wet, and just wipe these mating surfaces down. So we have the outer ring, we have the inner ring, and we have the shaft where the reducer ring on the blade actually sits. So we want to just wipe all those down with the Scotch-Brite just to make sure there's nothing on it. Once we do that, wipe everything down. Okay. And we actually want to do the same thing with the blade. We want to make sure we take this and you can see where the flange is starting to make contact. There's little rub marks and stuff like that. So we want to make sure these aren't any high spots and there's no dirt or anything on here. So again, any of this will cause the calibrations to not come out true. So we'll do both the front and the back. So they are both contact surfaces. Clean them up, wipe them off, and just give it a good feel. Make sure you don't feel any high spots or anything that catches your finger or fingernail. Okay. After everything's clean, and if you want to, you can spray just a little bit of WD-40 on this, just a little bit, just to kind of keep any rust from building up or anything like that. Do not use any grease or anything heavy like that, especially nothing that could potentially stain the stone if it were to drip. Okay. So we already did the inside flange, we did the blade, we did the shaft. This is a contact surface as well, so we want to make sure we give it a little bit of a wipe down. Make sure there aren't anything stuck to it or any debris or anything of that sort. And as we put these things on, if you give it a little spin as you push, it'll go right on. Again, there's a contact surface here and here. This is especially important to do if you're having issues with cuts. You've calibrated and for some reason you just can't seem to get the cuts to come out straight. Start there. Start with your mating surfaces. So I've seen where there's just buildup for some reason on the back side. And again, we can't calibrate for that. We have to make sure all of our mating surfaces are clean. You don't have to get carried away with tightening that nut. A couple hits and you're done. Okay. The blades here, we haven't moved anything for maintenance. This is still the position it went to. We'll take our dial indicator, Loosen everything up. Got our magnet down here. As we're setting this up, we want to keep this knob towards us. Don't end up like this, because you could, one, it's kind of difficult to get to, and two, it could get hit as we're making adjustments. So make sure the knob is on the outside. And when we're setting our needle, we want to set it in the center of the left side of the flange, about 1/8 of an inch away or so. And make sure, you see how this needle, this is coming out a little bit as I'm pushing? We want it to come out a little bit so that it can measure the entire stroke of however far we need to. So make sure everything's nice and tight, and make sure that this is about as straight as you can. You don't have to be crazy about it, but the straighter the better, the more accurate reading you will get. Then obviously make sure, sometimes this little tip can come loose. Make sure that's tight. Make sure everything's tight. Okay, so here I'm about 1/8 of an inch away, and I'm centered. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. Back you up a little bit so you can see everything. Okay, so right now we're going to calibrate A, or alpha axis. Okay, we're going to use our wireless MPG, or if it's corded, it's the same in this aspect. Okay, we're going to be in Z times 100, and we're going to start with the blade, with the needle close to the top of the blade. As we come down, for one, we want to make sure we don't hit the table, which you shouldn't if the maintenance position was set correctly. And we also want to come down to where we are not making contact with the vacuum cups on the back side of the table, or with a piece of stone or anything. So it's best to do this with at least a clean spot right here. So as we come down, keeping an eye on the back, make sure we don't hit the table. So right there is about good. Now, I'm using a wax pencil, but a marker, anything you can see. We're going to mark a spot on the blade where that needle can make contact. So right here, I made a spot. Okay. And now I want to zero out my dial indicator. Z 100X, and we're going to go up. When we're doing A-axis, we always want to start with the needle at the top of the blade. And as we come up and we get close to the bottom of the blade, we also want to spin the blade. We want to end up on the same spot that we marked. And the reason we were marking this and keeping the blade in that same orientation, we want to remove the blade from the equation of calibration. So we want to make sure the machine itself is calibrated. At the end of this, we'll go through how to actually check the blade itself for tension issues. So we're on our spot. You see we're about 12 thousandths out. Now from here, and that number is not really relevant right now, not when we're doing A. So I'm at positive 12 thousandths. I'm going to go to 4 and 1x. So 4 is A-axis, whether you have a wireless or wired MPG, and 1x is the slowest amount we can move. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this whichever way I need to get back to 0 on the dial indicator. Okay, we're at 0 now. Now I need to check it again. So go back to Z, 100X, go down. We're gonna go back to where we started. Now, do not make an adjustment in this position, okay? Only make it with the needle at the bottom of the blade. So I've got a 3/1000ths variation right now, which that's fine. So we're gonna start back over. With the needle at the top of the blade, we're gonna reset our dial indicator. Make sure it's at 0. Okay. Then we're gonna go back up. Now, you probably ask yourself, why aren't we going halfway when we get to the number at the bottom? Well, it's because the center of the spindle is not sitting center of the A-axis. It's actually sitting below it. And by only making adjustments with the needle at the bottom of the blade, will we actually get to 0. So I'm at 4/1000ths here. Again, I'm gonna go to 4, 1X, and I'm gonna work my way back to 0. Now, what you might notice is you might have to do this a few times, especially depending on how hot it is, because as the blade, as you're adjusting it from here and you're pushing it in to go back to 0, the top is coming out, but not straight. They're coming out kind of at an arc. So as you are adjusting this one's coming out. So we'll have to come back up, find out where this spot is, come back down, and then adjust a little bit more, because we're trying to calibrate on an arc, which is a little difficult, but this is the easiest way that I can explain it to you and you don't run into trouble. So you might have to do this a couple times, so be patient and just take your time and do it. Okay, I'm back to 0, so Z, 100X, go back down. Again, make sure you don't make contact with the table. Spin this. I was only at 2/1000ths there. I want to be plus or minus 0.001, so 1/1000th of an inch as we're making these calibrations. Obviously 0 is best, but never more than 1. Come up. Again, we'll spin our blade to make sure that their needle ends up on the spot we marked. I'm at 1/1000th here. Okay. Back to 0. Okay. And I'm pretty sure this will be the last, that was the last one, but I definitely want to double check it. Don't ever assume anything. Okay, right there, I'm at a 1/1000, so that's right what we want to be. Okay, so A's done, and since A's done, we're going to go right into C, or Charlie. So we're gonna come back up. And I'll go a little high, just because I don't want to accidentally hit the dial indicator. Now we're gonna go to X, we're gonna go negative. Now here we want to be close to, we want to be center and then about 1/8 of an inch away from the flange here, just like what we were before. And I can use the same spot I had earlier. So I rotated the blade, same spot. That way we don't add any unforeseen variables. Zero out. And then we're going to come across. Make sure we don't hit anything as we're moving. Spin the blade. Okay, now on C, we do want to go halfway back to zero. Whether you're positive or negative, we want to go halfway back. Okay, so I'm at 29 thousandths. That means I want to try to hit about 14.5 thousandths if possible. So I'm going to switch it to 5 and 1x. So 5 on, again, on either type of MPG, wired or wireless. 5 is Charlie, C, and then 1x is the slowest. So now I'm gonna adjust the blade. I'm gonna move C until I'm at about, I'm halfway back to zero. So right now for me, that's 14 thousandths. Okay. So I'm halfway back. I'm going to zero it out because this one you can adjust in both directions because you're going halfway. Then I'm going to switch to X, 100X. Move blade the other way. Okay. Right there, I'm already within 1 thou. So that's good. I'm done with this. I'm not going to try to get it any closer because that's pretty good. So let's go over here now. So once I'm mechanically set on C and A, so I don't know if you can see it or not. I'm at, 63 thousandths on A and 176 on C. It's not normally this bad. I intentionally reset the encoders just so I could have something to show you. So from here, so now we want to zero these out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to menu over here. Menu, parameters, okay, and then you see this button here, it's called home. For some of you with older software, this is going to be in the CNC page, but if you have newer software, it's going to be here in parameters. So home is actually a mode, it's not a position. And if you notice, when you press home, all your lights turn off. So that's the indication that you know that you're in home mode. Once you're in home mode, then we see A home right here, and it's going to give you a warning. Are you sure you want to home A-axis? Yes. And then we can also do C at the same time. There's C, click on it, same warning, click on it. And again, if you have older software, you won't get the warnings, it'll just do it. So once you've confirmed those, go back to menu, C and C, and then we can look here and see that A and C are now at 0, matching what we set mechanically. Okay, and then you are good to go. That should be it.